Today, cloud bills are climbing, AI budgets are swelling, and somewhere in the middle, margins are quietly getting crushed. Finance leaders now believe nearly a third of their cloud spend may simply be wasted. While the pressure to fund AI innovation has never been higher, that tension is now sitting in the boardroom, and it is forcing CFOs to become something they never even asked to be: cloud governance officers. Azul went straight to the source, surveying 300 CFOs and senior finance leaders to understand exactly how this pressure is reshaping financial strategy. And today we have with us Peter Maloney, Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer at Azul, to walk us through what they found. First of all, Peter, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Swap. I'm glad to be here. And this is an exciting topic and very relevant for today's CFO.
It is. If you folks recently released Cloud Cost Optimization 2026 report, which paints a striking picture. Nearly, if I'm not wrong, 7 in 10 finance leaders believe that up to 30% of their cloud spend is wasted. Yet, cloud bills keep going up across the board. Before we get into solutions, I would love to understand the problem itself. Why has this level of waste or lack of optimization become a norm?
It's interesting, right? You look at what most CFOs are trying to do today. They're trying to help their company scale profitably, right? And there's a lot of things that go into profitability. It's the gross margins, it's your cost structure. And just like other areas within your cost structure, cloud waste is sort of a hidden tax. And it's not one thing that causes it, and it's not one thing that solves it. In order to go and solve identifying the hidden tax and take action, it really comes down to a group effort with what we call FinOps, right? And FinOps is starting to take on in many, many companies that are adopting cloud and trying to become more mature with cloud. And so CFOs are now starting to see this because that hidden tax is taking up the ability to use that capital or that investment in other things, just like, AI is starting to take off, and we all want to be able to invest in AI to improve our businesses. And so the tax is more relevant, and working with other organizations or other parts of your business is really important to identify and sort of solve the hidden tax.
Thank you for explaining that. First of all, CFOs are kind of seeing this as a board level concern, which may be good or bad depending on how you look at it. But that's kind of also a significant shift from who actually owns this problem. How are CFOs, and not only through this report, but your own interaction when you talk to other CFOs, how are they working together to bring actually more predictability? Because there is no predictability right now. That's the problem with the waste, right? Bring some predictability, bring some discipline to cloud economics without putting brakes on innovation, because you don't want to be left behind, but you also don't want to move so fast that everybody else is left behind.
That's right. I think, look, it starts with a cultural change or a cultural common desire to have a common outcome. And a lot of it, there's a lot of data, right, that's available to CFOs and other people within IT, product engineering, et cetera. But it's using common metrics and having a common goal as to what you're trying to accomplish within your cloud investment. As I mentioned before, only about 18% of companies that we surveyed have FinOps centers of excellence. And so it is evolving. But I think that the CFO working with IT leaders, product leaders, and engineering leaders, and having common language, common metrics, not just activity metrics, consumption, commercial metrics, but output metrics. What defines success? And working together to achieve what defines success, it allows the investment to be optimized and potentially make room for other investment.
That kind of also leads to understand and know that do they also invest from your conversation that what is their cloud actually being used for? Because most of the time, you have all these resources, of course, all the major deals, all the contracts, but where is it being used? So do they also look at input, output, and the whole consumption model as well?
When you look at sort of a P&L view of where cloud spend is going, it's going into two areas: primarily. One is your cost of goods sold to go supply your product or your service to your customer. And number two, in your development cycles, right, in engineering and R&D. And so there's a lot of tools out there and a lot of data to measure the activity and to help you manage it. And there's actually tools with the big cloud providers as well as individual software companies that will help you to manage consumption and automate things. There's also tools out there to help you with the commercial side of things. What's been happening now is the adoption of those tools. Stage two is more the tools that will help you at the application layer and actually help performance improve, right? That's one of the things that Azul does for our customers. And so I look at the adoption of FinOps in two stages: identification, working on consumption and commercials, and then secondly, actually working on the efficiency at the application layer.
Since you talked about tools, I would love to talk a bit about that because cloud pricing, complexity, and lack of visibility, you need to be a mathematician to actually do all the calculation to figure out how much it's going to cost. They would also cite it as the biggest barrier to cost optimization in the report as well. Talk a bit about what kind of insights do CFOs and finance leaders actually need, but often don't have when it comes to cloud usage, and what if Azul is doing anything to actually help them?
So Azul definitely helps. And like I said, Azul helps at the application layer. I think it's not really a data issue. There's a lot of data that's available. I think the gap is taking that data and, as I mentioned, applying it not just to consumption, but to outputs, right? You think about from a CFO's perspective, it's not just about cost management. It's optimizing ROI or optimizing outcomes. So as you're investing in the cloud, having a clear definition of success. What are you investing in? Are you investing in product? Are you investing in customer-related activities? And knowing what a true success looks like helps you use the data that you have to achieve that success.
And as you said, that CFOs are actively tracking metrics, like cloud cost as percent of the revenue and unit economics. What does it mean for being more efficient? Is software efficiency kind of going to become, or is because we actually stopped talking about efficiency at all these days, is it going to become a real driver of company valuation? And is there value, or if it isn't possible to run leaner, faster workloads versus what is the new shiny thing? Let's jump, let's evaluate, because that evaluation can last years and you will be just, bleeding resources without any ROI.
No, that's right. I think what's happening, and you see it in the public capital markets, and it's definitely happening in private company valuations, the amount of cloud spend is becoming important for valuations, right? It's reflected in gross margins, it's reflected in EBITDA, and the ability to scale without adding a lot of cloud resources is really important, right? The other thing, and I think this is the most important part of optimizing your cloud spend, is every dollar that you free up from spending on cloud, you can use to invest in your business for either growth or let it go to the bottom line, right? And we all know that what's coming is continued investment in AI. AI is going to be a game changer for people's growth models and their cost models. And so freeing up dollars to be able to invest in AI is very, very important.
Yeah, and I think I was looking at the report, I think almost 56% of CFOs said that AI and automation is going to be their top financial priority. Yet, ironically, 43% admit that AI is making cloud cost harder to measure. There is a hidden cost of AI itself. Token cost can pile up very quickly. Is there a hidden AI tax that organizations are walking into with their eyes open? While yes, automation, AI, it seems to be low-hanging fruit, seems to be very exciting. But what are the lessons we can learn from the cloud era that even here, just the way unchecked cloud-based code not only was killing ROI, we can make the same mistakes with AI as well.
No, I agree. I think once again, right, making sure that you have your cloud layer and your cloud spend under control and running efficiently with accurate and clearly defined outcomes is important. AI can just sort of compound the problem, right? I think what we're going to find is the companies that are focused on their cloud cost optimization will have an easier time of adopting and getting adoption from their employees, their AI tools. You'll also see that they'll free up dollars to be able to more quickly invest in AI. And so I think they're completely linked. I actually think, just like there's a whole industry around trying to help companies optimize their cloud costs, I think the same thing is going to happen with AI, right? And so you have to start with your cloud costs, make sure you understand them, make sure that you're spending for real outcomes, and that will help you to be able to implement and get traction with AI.
I think the only difference between AI and other is that AI can actually help you also to figure out how to think. I mean, we use AI to solve the problem that AI creates here as well. So that will happen. If you look at in general, when you look at how enterprises are responding to rising cloud cost, at the same time, they also want to invest in AI, but we also hear, of course, that costs also climb up. Are we looking at something called quick fix band-aids, or we should look at long-term solutions, which could be re-architecture, which is more optimized for AI, more for automation, more for efficiency, performance, leaner, smaller teams, also which is also ready because AI world is changing so fast. New technologies are coming so fast, OpenClaw or MCP. So there is more predictability, being able to move faster, and also being able to use all those latest technologies.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I'd say, as I said earlier, I think there's a couple of stages of getting ready and preparing yourself and doing better at managing your cloud costs and optimizing. One is I put it in sort of the consumption and commercial bucket and some automation tools, right? There's a lot of automation tools out there. The cloud vendors provide them. There are, spot solutions that are very good that are used, but that really doesn't give you anything more than just visibility and automation. What you really need is go to the application layer. Companies that are focusing on tuning their Java runtimes and modernizing their applications and their Java environment are the ones that are going to get the biggest return. And by doing that, it's more pervasive, and you're actually investing in something that takes action, right? If you think about a lot of the tools in sort of phase one of FinOps that you're using, it's for visibility, governance, accountability. Where you can really take action is something that is going to help you to make your application layer run more efficiently. And that is pervasive and material. And that is actually what Azul is very, very good at. We have many customers using our solutions to achieve that level of FinOps excellence.
Of course, Azul is a Java company at its core. When we talk about software efficiency and running leaner workloads, let's talk about bringing Azul and Java into the picture. Where does the runtime layer fit into this conversation? If JVM optimization is something CFO should even think of, or it's too high level for that. But still, what role does Java, what role does Azul play in taming these costs and allowing organizations to take full advantage of cloud, AI, and automation?
Yeah, so I think from a CFO's role, right, and you try to learn more and more about technology and how applications run, you're not going to have all the answers. You're going to have to partner with your CIO and your product people, engineering people to make sure you're making the right decisions here. I think that what we've been able to do as a company is do exactly that. We work with our customers, CFOs, CIOs, product people, engineers, and try to help them go from the next level of just sort of managing consumption and commercials to actually changing how their applications operate. And so, as a CFO, what I would do is I would work with the other executive partners and functional departments to go find the optimal solution, to go beyond just visibility and automation, to go to something that actually changes the performance.
If you have a meeting with a CFO who is going to meet his team, his CTOs next week to talk about cloud cost, what's the conversation they are probably not having because they have never had, but they should have? What would be your advice to that CFO?
I think they probably have started to use tools to get visibility and identify what's happening. But I would say, number one, there needs to be accountability. And we here at Azul, we literally take our cloud bill and we are able to identify down to every single project who's responsible, and we manage it very actively. We're looking at reporting weekly, et cetera. So it's important to get down to sort of full knowledge and visibility and accountability. I think secondly, though, and I mentioned it earlier, is understanding what are the big outcomes that you want. Are they customer related outcomes? Are they product related outcomes? Are they development related outcomes? And if you start identifying that and you know where you're spending, you can take quick actions on the consumption side or with partners on the commercial side to negotiate actually better deals, right? That's stage one. But stage two, that's really identifying where are you consuming the cloud? What products, what applications in your business? And you can focus on those applications and actually implement something like Azul that will make those applications much more productive. And so stage one is identifying and understanding where you're spending, what you expect your outcomes to be, and then looking at tools that can help you actually solve and take action rather than just identifying. I think, and you can see it in the results, like things are happening fast here, right? And I think, as you said, Swaps, AI is starting to drive people to have to think about cloud even more, or maybe even before they wanted to, right? And so there's sort of a learning curve. CFOs are always going to go to the concept of, as I started, scaling profitably, scaling their businesses profitably. So when something becomes material and it can make a difference for the ability to scale, CFOs, their attention will go to it right away, right? And so until recently, we haven't seen that. Now we're seeing it, and it's happening very fast. And I think that model of, as I said, stage one versus stage two is important because companies and CFOs are going to have to go from stage ones to stage two fast to remain competitive and have the right business model for the future.
What kind of insights do CFOs and finance leaders need, but you feel that I don't have it? There are no tools to provide me that with that insight that will help me when it comes to cloud usage, and of course when it comes to AI usage, where you're like, this is on my wish list, I wish I had it, or you have it and you wish more people use it.
Yeah. We're going through a process right now ourselves. I think we've done a great job on cloud cost optimization, and we use it, we use the model of making sure we have great visibility, we have accountability, and now we have predictability. We don't have any surprises. And we use a number of tools from our cloud providers to do that, as well as one or two other sort of point solutions that help us on the consumption side and the commercial side. And we obviously, being at Azul, we use Azul products. I think that with AI, as you pointed out, it's going to add a whole nother layer of complexity. And I think as AI is adopted, I think companies are going to focus on adoption first and return second. And so figuring out, once again, what are your expectations and the outputs that you want to see from your investment, not just in cloud, but AI, and then figuring out the KPIs. I don't think most companies have done that. So I think the effort to identify success, figure how to track it, and then actually hold people accountable is going to be one of the key things that a CFO can help their businesses be successful, not only with cloud, but with AI.
And I often hear from people that say you also have to be very, very clear, and you have to define what you mean by success, because that could mean so many different things for so many folks, right?
No, I said that's right. Success on investment is not always measured in just a number, right? A financial outcome. It can be far-reaching across the whole organization, and it can have a longer-term impact if it's changing your culture or your ability to serve customers.
Peter, thank you so much. This has been really grounded and honest look, which we need to have when it comes to cloud economics, AI economics. Thank you so much for the great insights. And of course, the folks who are watching, please do check out Azul, because they have a lot of solutions to help you tame your cloud costs. But Peter, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.